Hey everyone. So this month is an extension of what we started last month in our Sacred Sexuality series, which was a discussion about the dark goddesses and the practices associated with each. So we focus primarily on Lilith, Pomba, gira, and Mama Bridgette. This month, we are going to roll out 9 very specific rites and rituals that you can perform with these specific deities or any one of the dark goddess deities. I'm actually going to break down that list again that I brought out last month just to give you some options. So let's jump right into the PowerPoint. Okay, so here we go. Look, that was easy breezy this month. All right, so on the left here, we have 13 of the dark goddesses that are notoriously affiliated with sacred sexuality practices, rites, rituals, and all of the things when it comes to sex magic. Today, we are going to roll out 9 very specific ones that will work with any one of these deity. I think we are going to extend and expand this into May as well, where we'll be rolling out another 9 rituals. One of the beautiful things about these very specific rites are, I think, the wording. It's almost like sacred wording. I really, really enjoy it. So I hope you're going to enjoy it as well. And then just kind of a primer. We're going to do a little bit of a review and a little bit of a primer here. Here are some of the dark goddesses that are very affiliated with these practices. So, of course, last month we talked about Lilith here, we talked about Pumbagira, and we talked about Mama Bridgette. Some of the goddesses we didn't really talk a whole lot about. Durga, Kali Ma in Hinduism, Oya, or even Oshun or Yamea, who are not pictured, but those orishas are very affiliated with sex magic and sacred sexual practices. And then, of course, we can't forget the higher self, which I put right here in the middle almost. These are higher self practices as well. So if you don't work with deity, if you don't have a pantheon that you regularly solicit for assistance with your practice, definitely the higher self is on the list. All right. Another little review. Sacred sexuality is a practice in almost every single spiritual belief system. And so I just kind of wanted to give you like a little glimmer here. It's called different things depending on your practice: divine union, dual cultivation, sacred merging, and divine love, in 4 very, very, very different spiritual belief pathways. So again, it breaks down, the wording is different, the classification may be different, the deity that are associated with it might be very different, but at the end of the day, in omnism, we say it's all the same. It's all the same. It just has different presentation. So, just kind of a nice little chart for you to review. And then, here, of course, when we're talking about spiritual sexuality and we're talking about sacred sexuality, we can't forget sexual alchemy because that is the heart and soul of this practice. Whether you call it sex magic, sexual energy transmutation, again, the wording is different. What we're doing is the same. I have a nice little diagram here. It's not as clean as I would have liked it to be. It's a little bit blurry, but it basically shows the hierarchy, the coding of moving up, that sensual sexual energy into creative force or creative energy. So these are online too. I wish I would have gotten a clearer version for you guys, but take a look at the chart. It is kind of like the core, or when we talk about meat and potatoes, it's the meat dish. When we're talking about alchemy that is sexualized, or sexual alchemy, bringing us into that creative force or state that we use for manifestation. Some more charts here of duality. Well, not really charts, more like images that really moved me. This one on the left is amazing. It uses a little bit of tarot imagery, which I really enjoy. And the one on the right, of course, this is much more Wiccan or pagan in flavor, using the moon and the sun. But duality, of course, is an important part of this practice. And as we focus on the divine feminine or the dark goddesses, there are dark gods as well that are associated with this type of magic. But these next couple of months, let's just get through the goddesses first. And then if you guys want to jump into the gods, we definitely can do that as well. All right, so number one of nine. Now, for those of you on our Patreon that are going to get this email direct to your WeTransfer, if you want the hard copy of the PowerPoint that does not have like the show aspect to it, let me know. I can definitely send that to you. Otherwise, screenshots should work. I'm going to make sure I leave plenty of time and space for you guys to be able to capture the information on each one of these rituals. So, this very first one is a glamour cast, and it is using broken jewelry. Now, before I get into any of these, understand that all nine of these rites and rituals involve solicitation of one of the dark goddesses. Now, I'm going to talk about colors and scents that are associated with some of these rites. If you are using, say, for example, I'm breaking down a ritual that uses pomba gira or mama bridgette, but you want to use lilith, you want to use oya. You can change scent, you can change color, you can change herbal components to match that deity. So you can play with these a little bit. What I really like most about these rites is really the wording. You guys, I believe in sacred words, sacred syllables, sacred sounds. And the wording in here is almost poetic in all nine of these. And I think the wording is so powerful on its own. Even if you didn't have some of these other elements, like the herbs or the roots, I think it'd be just as powerful. It wouldn't lose any of its steam. So let's jump into this first one. So each one of these rites and rituals are going to start with a statement that you would be making to the deity that you are soliciting that is going to act as a trigger or an activation that a ritual or a rite is going to begin. So you're going to see these verbalizations in italics in each one of these rituals. So let me get a drink here. And again, you can work with the goddess that calls to you. So the opening incantation or calling in is going to go like this. You who dazzle with what others discard, I call upon you now. You who wear sorrow like satin and wrap your wounds in gold, come close. Take this offering of broken beauty. Walk with me as I turn ruin into radiance. Help me shine through the cracks they left behind. At every flow, become a facet. Let every scar reflect light. So again, like I said, I'm big with sacred words, sacred poetry, and I feel like this kind of calling in is very, very powerful energetically, even if you're not burning candles or burning incense or leaving offerings. This in and of itself is like a huge energetic push equivalent or greater than those things. So, with this ritual, after you do the calling in, you're going to make sure that you find some jewelry that maybe no longer matches. It could be a lonesome earring, a necklace with a missing clasp, a bracelet that snapped when your world fell apart. Maybe you had a crisis. So these items are not trash. We consider these relics, right? And you want to choose three broken pieces of jewelry. You're going to wash them very gently with rose water. And while you're washing them, another incantation. You can whisper very quietly, I see you in these pieces. I see myself. Again, you're calling in that goddess. Now, you can use their names directly if you'd like, but a lot of times, I mean, if you already have an altar or you've already built a relationship with a very specific goddess, they're going to hear you regardless if you're calling their name directly or not. So, you're going to lay out those broken jewelry pieces on a black cloth, which is considered a piece of mourning or a piece of magic, right? You're going to kind of set them up in a triangle shape or a triangular shape. In the center of that, you're going to place a red rose that you've dipped in sweet wine. Make sure the wine is sweet. Any white wine probably will do. I think that's pretty sweet. This is the goddess heart. That's what it's symbolizing in this ritual. This is her glamour. This is her promise that nothing is ever too broken to be beautiful, right? Nothing is ever too broken to be fixed. So you're going to light a single candle. I put it must be red. It doesn't have to. If you're working with Oya, it can be blue or Yamea. But if you're working with like Lilith, Mama Bridgette, you could probably do purple. Pumbaa gira for sure, red. Again, you can play with this a little bit, but it must flicker like a memory, right? You're going to sit before that cloth and you're going to breathe that goddess's name 3 times, each time slower, each time deeper. You're going to kind of feel her settle into the space, right? So she always comes to the forgotten, whichever deity that you're calling to. All the dark goddesses do. Now you're going to take that first piece of jewelry in your hands, you're going to hold it to your throat, and you're going to whisper one thing about yourself that you thought was a flaw. You're going to speak that with tenderness. You're going to speak it sort of like a secret, and then you're going to speak it again a second time. And then I want you to recite this. And again, you're speaking to deity. It's in italics. It's part of the calling in, part of the activation. Make this beautiful, turn this pain into perfume. So you're going to do the same thing with the second piece. You're going to speak a memory that made you doubt your worth, your self-worth, your value. And then with this one, I want you to say, crown me with what crushed me. Let them see a queen where they saw a servant. Isn't the wording amazing? It really is amazing. All right, let's move this so you guys can see the second part of this ritual. Oh my gosh, these boxes, they drive me crazy. So the third piece goes to your lips. You're going to whisper the lie you once believed, a lie about your body, your power, your place in the world, and then you're going to breathe that out slowly. And you're going to say, again, italics, let this be glamour. Let them fall in love with what they never looked at twice. So then you're going to take the 3 pieces, you're going to place them around the rose. You're going to kind of let them drink its wine, right? Let them soak in that scent, and you're going to leave them there until the candle dies out. You're not going to speak, you're not going to sing, you're just going to let it do its work. All right. Now, the goddess that you are soliciting, she will twist the spell into the metal, wrap your story around the clasp, and slip your beauty into every crack. Now, in the morning, you're going to choose one piece to wear, not to hide behind, but to radiate through, right? You're going to let it hang from your ear, your wrist, your throat like a charm forged in the furnace of grace. I love words, the magic of words. This definitely has to go on Substack, right? Wear it when you want to be seen, when you want to be felt, when you need them to remember that broken does not mean ruined, that missing does not mean gone. So whisper as you fasten it, not loudly, just under your breath, because she's going to hear what is barely said. You don't have to speak loudly for them to hear, but you're going to kind of whisper, this is your jewel now. This is your spell on my skin. Let them see me as you do. Then you're going to wrap them in black and red. You're going to kind of keep them close because those are charged relics now, right? They will whisper to you when you forget. So this is glamour, not perfection, but it's power. It's not shine, but it is story. It's beauty that limps and still walks forward. The world does have us limping right now. So you are the sparkle in the ash. You are the gold behind the grime. And this goddess is with you in every glance that lingers. So I think that first one is a really good way to kick off this series, or the second month of this series, right? All right, the second ritual is a binding using torn lace. I think everybody has torn lace, whether it's an old pair of panties or a bra or curtains, that you inherited from grandma. Most of us have a pretty easy time getting our hands on some sort of torn lace that we've been, keeping in the back of a dresser drawer. All right, so let's start with the incantation, the solicitation piece in italics. It's Lady of Sorrow stitched in silk. I call to you now, you who bind with grace, who tangle with elegance, who do not raise your voice but still bring silence to your enemies. Come close, lend me your thread, lend me your hand. Let me know this spell with beauty and fury woven together. Let this binding be a dance and a warning. Let it be soft and final. Let it be yours. Isn't that a beautiful way to describe a binding? I just think it's such a graceful, elegant way to describe a binding ritual. So, this is not a binding for vengeance. It is not a spell to break bones or ruin lives. It is a binding basically to stop harm, to wrap a venomous tongue, to still a reaching hand, or to hold back the presence that poisons the air around you. So, this is what we like to call the glamour of refusal or the elegance of no more, right? You've had enough. This is dignity as defense. It is the quiet power of saying enough. So, begin by finding a piece of torn lace. It must already be damaged. Do not cut a new piece. Do not tear up something new. This lace needs to have a story or a history. A rip from something, you once loved, a scrape from curtains that saw sorrow of some sort, a fragment from something really feminine that was once whole. The tear is important. It's where the magic breathes. So it must know loss to be able to hold back what wounds. And this is true when you're using talismans or relics. They tend to need a story, right? That's why I go and I work with these shadow museums. I work with occult antique dealers because they have that story. So you're going to wash that lace with rose water. You're going to let it soak for a minute, and then you're going to press it gently to your chest. And then we're going into the second part of the incantation here, the whisper. This is the piece of me that they tried to unravel. This is what they tugged at, pulled apart, mocked, and mishandled. Weave it back, weave it stronger, weave it around them so they can do no more harm. Now, again, we're using torn lace as a talisman. It doesn't have to be like the person that you're binding tore the lace, but we're using it symbolically in a binding. So now you're going to prepare your candle. Take a black candle, dress it with clove oil, powdered cinnamon, some ground dried rose petals. I want you to let the ingredients sort of cling to it, kind of like stories cling to our skin, right? That's a good metaphor. You're going to carve into the wax the initials or the symbol of the one who needs to be stopped, not punished, not ruined, just stopped, stilled, or separated somehow. You're going to wrap the torn lace around the base of the candle 3 times. You're going to knot it very softly, not with anger, but with precision. And as you tie each loop, I want you to speak this part of the incantation to your deity. Wind your skirts around this one, slow their steps, still their speech. Let their eyes turn elsewhere, let their hands fall empty. All right, so then moving on to the second part. Sorry, you guys, I have to keep moving this box every time I move sides of the screen. So you're going to place the candle in a bowl of coarse salt. This is to contain the energy. This is really to keep the spell clean. You're going to sit before it. You're going to breathe deeply. You're going to call your goddess's name 3 times and light the candle with your 4th breath. Watch it burn. Watch how the wax melts down the lace. You're going to watch the flame, how the flame touches the cloth. You're not going to want to look away. You're going to let it darken. You're going to let it bind. And while the candle burns, you're going to whisper yet another part of this incantation. What was torn will bind. What was soft will hold. What was overlooked will now become a lock. Wrap them in your rags. Let them wander, but never reach me. All right, so at this point in the ritual, you may feel a chill, which is very common. You may also feel a soft tightening, sort of like in the air, kind of like a corset being drawn really tight. This is the lace becoming more than lace, right? This is the thread tightening around those intentions. So when the candle is burned low, you're not going to want to blow it out. Let it finish itself. When it's done, I want you to gather the remains. So the melted wax, the darkened lace, the salt, you're going to wrap it all in a cloth that's preferably black and red or one or the other. You are going to bury it in a place of stillness. So a forgotten tree, a quiet little garden corner, somewhere where nothing grows real loudly, I guess is a good, a good location. You're going to leave a coin. Any coin will do. I like 6 pence. I like mercury dimes, but you're going to leave that to the earth kind of as an offering, and you're going to whisper as you kiss it. You're going to actually, I'm sorry, I skipped the part. You're going to kiss that coin. Okay, with your fingers, you're going to touch the soil as you're putting that coin down, and then you're going to whisper again, another part of the incantation. Your silence is a scream. This lace is stronger than chains. I walk now without their shadow. Now, when you return home, one of the things I want you to do is either sweep your threshold, If you have especially any remnants of anything like preparatory there, you're going to wash your hands with rose and salt, rose water and salt. I want you to light some rose incense and I want you to sit in peace for a while. So, this goddess, whichever one you're soliciting, none of them are going to leave traces. Okay, when she's done, she's done. She just leaves spaces, right? She leaves the space. She leaves silence. She just leaves you whole. So just make sure you clean up the energetic residue, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. All right, moving on to ritual three. One of my favorites also. I actually used to make these in the shop. Um, if I can move this, hang on. Geesh, Louise. Okay, so I actually used to do intention-based spell-crafted perfumes in the shop. And they were wildly popular, but they were very time-consuming. I have considered doing it again. I was using Victorian teardrop vials, and I would do the formulary and then ship it to you, and you needed to add your own tears to activate it. Right there in the jar, you just hold it up. These vials are made to be held up. They're tear catchers, Victorian tear catchers. I've thought about doing them again. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So this one is called a perfume made from sorrow turned sweet. So starting with the incantation again, looking at the italics. Lady of scented grief and soft survival, I call to you now. You who weep in roses and laugh in ruin. You who turn sorrow into silk and perfume, your past with honey and smoke. Come and stand beside me as I distill this ache into beauty. Let me bottle what once broke me, and wear it like triumph. Let this be a spell that lingers, draws eyes not with seduction, but with story. Let them smell what I have survived. So, isn't that beautiful? I'm telling you, sacred words are powerful. Begin with a small glass vial. All right, I like Victorian tear catchers, little glass, tear shaped vials, but use whatever you want to use. One that's pleasing to the eye is preferable, right? I do recommend it be secondhand, something you buy or pick up at, Goodwill or Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul's, whatever secondhand, chains are near you. You want it to carry the memory of another life. Okay, you're going to clean it with rose water and you're going to speak into its hollow space. Again, italics, bless this vessel, let it hold what once could not be held. I guess I should have probably separated that, sorry, but anything in italics is an incantation, part of the ritual verbiage. So, to make this, you're going to need a base of fractionated coconut oil or light jojoba oil will also work. This is going to be your foundation. It is the softness that will carry the spell. Now, in the base, you're going to add 7 drops of essential oil. Now, each one is chosen not just for scent, but for memory, for what it whispers, for how it touches the skin. Okay, so it's going to go 3 drops of rose for the softness you never lost, for the beauty they tried to dirty. 1 drop of clove for the strength hidden in sweetness or for the bite beneath the bloom. 1 drop of patchouli for grounding, for walking barefoot through the ruins with pride. 1 drop of orange for the joy you did not let them steal. And 1 drop of vanilla for the love that remained even when you wept alone. Isn't that? It's beautiful, right? So you're going to shake it gently. Close your eyes. Remember the moment when you were lowest. Remember how it smelled. Was it like mildew? Was it like smoke or cheap perfume? And then remember who helped you rise the night you were right again, right? The first laugh after that silence. The first look in the mirror where you saw a woman and not a wound. You're going to read that memory into the bottle and you're going to say out loud, scent this sorrow with your sweetness. Let my story follow me like a ghost with painted lips. Now, you're going to add a tiny sliver of rose petal once you've kissed it, right? Once you've named it, okay, you can give it a name, whatever your wound is, and it will bleed into the oil. It will whisper. You're going to seal the bottle and you're going to press it to your heart and you're going to hold it there as we go into another incantation. If I can get this moved quickly. Boy, guys, sorry. All right, so italics. I was not destroyed, I was distilled. I was not forgotten, I fermented. I do not reek of ruin, I perfume with power. Now, moving forward, you're going to wear this perfume when you walk into rooms where maybe they once laughed at you, right? Didn't take you seriously. You're going to dab it behind your ears when you face people who doubted you, right? Let it cling to your clothes, let it stain your scarf. Let it remind you that even grief can be glamour. I think we oftentimes forget that, how we can transmute grief into glamour. And pain can be potion. Pain is transmutable into very powerful potions in magic. So you're going to store it in a you're going to store it wrapped in a red cloth. I would hide it among broken things. Like if you can put this next to those broken jewelry pieces that we did that very first ritual, that would be really great because it's going to bloom stronger there. Each time you wear it after that, another incantation. Walk with me. Let them smell me before they see me. Let them remember, even if they do not know why. So, this is not a perfume made by forgetting. This is made by remembering and choosing sweetness anyway. How often do we choose that when we've been burnt, right? Not very often. We're just pissed off and want revenge. So we are, intentionally choosing sweetness in the face of grief. So elegance is not the absence of pain. It is the art of surviving beautifully. So, of course, the option here, add tears to the bottle, makes it a million times more potent and powerful for sure. All right, moving on to the next. A crossroads ritual. You knew there was going to be at least one in here. A lot of these dark goddesses love to have us out doing crossroads work. All right, a crossroads ritual to rise again. Starting with our verbiage, our vocalization, calling in our deity. Lady of the broken path and the red road, I call to you now. You who have walked through fire in bare feet, who have risen from gutters with grace, who have kissed the dirt and still worn lipstick like a crown. Come stand with me where the roads cross. Come whisper to me in the place where endings become beginnings. Let this ritual be not a cry for help, but a cry of return. I rise, I rise, I rise. Again, that's like sacred poetry right there. All right, so this working obviously is done at a crossroads, not a busy one, not where cars are racing around and there's lights flashing. You want to find a place that has a very quiet tension to it, kind of like a hidden four-way or kind of like a forgotten dirt track, maybe a village fork, where kind of like it feels like the paths of yesterday are meeting the silence of now, right? If there's dust there, that's even better. If there are weeds there, it's even better yet. It doesn't have to be pretty. The crossroads should never be perfect. They never really are. That's the truth of this magic, especially with dark goddess magic. The crossroads are supposed to be messy. They are. So you'll need a handful of graveyard dirt, a small piece of charcoal, a red rose in bloom, a black cloth, a red ribbon, and a piece of paper on which you write the words. Now, this is the one, I have this in italics, but you're actually writing this on your name paper. I have not ended. I would also bring wine because most of the goddesses are going to appreciate that as an offering. The earth appreciates that as an offering. And they will partake in that with those of us who are brave, brave enough to go out and do these rituals, right? So at midnight or close to it, walk to the crossroads alone. You do not need to be fearless. You only need to be ready. Okay, when you arrive, you're going to kneel at the center, not off to the side, not hidden, right where the road splits. Okay, this is where the soul stands naked. This is where the witch begins again. You're going to spread out the black cloth on the earth. You're going to place the grave dirt in a circle on it. You're going to put the charcoal in the center. You're going to light it. You're going to let it glow. This is your ember. This is the reminder that even when burned, something still glows, always. You're going to tear a single petal from the rose, and you're going to feed it to the coal. And as it smolders, we're going to the next part of the incantation. You're going to say out loud, you who know shame and survival, You who were mocked but never broken. You who were dragged and still rose with red lips. I kneel in your name, not in defeat, but in return. All right, let's move me. This is like becoming a little ritual here, moving me. All right, come on, box. Hang on. I'm so sorry, you guys. And I skipped a page. Let me go back. All right, so next you're going to take that paper, you're going to fold it 3 times, you're going to kiss it, you're going to tuck it under the coal, let it darken. You want the words on there to curl and smoke. You're not going to look away again. This is you becoming again, right? As the paper burns, you're going to place the rose on top of the dirt, tie the ribbon around its stem, and you're going to speak again, incantation. I have not ended. I have paused. I have not died. I have changed. I have not lost. I have learned. Walk me out of this. So then you're going to pour the wine in a circle around the cloth. Do it slowly with reverence. Let it soak into the ground, right? Let the earth drink it with you. Then press your palms onto the dirt. Feel the crossroads. You want to feel that power. This is not a begging place, right? This is a birthing ground. And so then you're going to say again, incantation, by the flame I am born again, by the road I walk again, by the rose I bloom again. Take my hand, let the road beneath me rise. So then when you are ready, you're going to gather the cloth, the ashes, the stem of the rose. You're going to wrap them together. You're going to walk home by a different route, though. So you're not going to retrace your steps. Now, in the morning, I want you to bury, this is me reading because I'm tired. Bury the bundle at your threshold or under a window so that the spell lives where you live, right? So each time you feel yourself kind of falling back again, you can touch that spot and say, again, incantation, I rise, I rise, I rise, remind me. And they will. They will find a way to remind you. All right, next. Ooh, the lipstick pact. All right, come on with this box. God, for those of you that use Zoom, maybe private message me. Is there like an easier way to move this big black box? I mean, I just want to get rid of it, but I can't. Anyway, moving on. A lipstick pact for irresistible attraction, right? So let's start with our vocalization, our calling in. Enchantress of red and gold. You, and again, okay, let me back up here. Depending on the deity you're soliciting, you can interchange the referencing of colors, scents, all of that. I am really kind of referencing the 3 main ones that we discussed last month. Lilith, Pomba, Gira, Mama Bridgette. But again, you can change this up. All right. Enchantress of red and gold. You who speaks without speaking. You who kisses without permission. You who knows what they will want before they want it. Come now, touch this mouth. Bless these lips with your fire, your cunning, your sweetness laced in poison. Let every word become silk, every silence become ache. Let every kiss turn the head of power. The lady of lovers and queens, I offer you this lipstick pact with every trace. Let them fall, let them follow, let them want. Again, powerful. The words alone. So this spell is for the witch who no longer asks to be desired, but decides it. It is not a love spell for longing or loneliness. It is not cast in the shadows of unworthy hearts, right? This pact is pure and potent. Okay, a lipstick in this spell becomes a talisman, a weapon, a seal of fire worn on the mouth. Your deity, who taught queens to conquer, with a smile blesses it. And when she does, it becomes impossible to ignore. Fun fact, I did do lipstick spells. I actually did lipstick and cigar kits for some time in the shop. And I got a lot of feedback on how powerful some of those lipstick talismans were. For a while, I had a whole line on lust and sex intent. So they were all lust and sex charged lipsticks for either sex magic practices, solo or partnered. And they were like little penis shaped lipsticks. They were hilarious. It was a little consuming getting those activated, But I had a lot of good feedback. I don't know, honestly, I think I couldn't, I started having a hard time finding those penis lipsticks, and that's when I stopped making them. But I should probably do that again. Anyway, moving on. You're going to choose a lipstick that holds your power. So red is kind of a natural choice, but it needs to be the right red. Whatever red works for you, the kind that kind of makes you straighten your back, right? The kind that turns your reflection into your own masterpiece. So the color you put on when the world must turn its head. This is a lipstick of pact. It is not decoration, it is enchantment. So you're going to place that lipstick on your altar or your working space with a red candle burning behind it. You're going to dress the candle with cinnamon oil and a single drop of your chosen perfume. I would not use our grief to, glamour perfume necessarily for this. I would maybe use like your favorite daily perfume. Now, have beside you a glass of red wine, a lock of your hair, or you could use a trace of your blood, and a scrap of paper with your full name and the words, I am the flame, they follow, written on it. Again, I put that in italics. You don't need to vocalize or verbalize that necessarily, but you are going to write that on your name paper. You're going to light the candle, kind of take a moment to center. You're not preparing to wear makeup. You are preparing to mark yourself as desired and to make that desire a throne. So hold the lipstick in your palm as though it were a blade, right? And you're going to speak the next part of the incantation. Flame of the mouth and mistress of the gaze, I offer you this color as pact. I do not wear it to chase, I wear it to rule. Bless it with your heat, charge it with your power, that all who see it feel the pull, that all who kiss it be caught. All right, moving again. Here we go. Boy, I gotta work in at least a 5 minute something for this. Okay. Gently press the lipstick to your name paper and leave the mark of your lips upon it. Fold the paper 3 times forward toward you, sealing your intention. Touch the folded paper to the candle flame just to kiss the fire at the edges and then extinguish the flame in your wine. This is the pact. It's sealed in heat and drink. Okay, so you're going to anoint the lipstick with your perfume and pass it through the smoke of the candle, and you are going to vocalize. With this color, I do not hope, I do not wait. I walk into the room and it shifts. I speak and they want more. I smile and they remember. She, meaning your deity, walks with me and I am never forgotten. Whew, powerful stuff. Now, use this lipstick when you wish to enchant, when you wish to command, when you speak to someone who needs to be turned right into favor. When you enter a room that must become yours, right? It is not a charm for every day. It is a seal of fire for moments that really matter. Now, when you take it off, always give thanks. Kiss your hand and press it to your altar. Say her name with reverence, your deity counterpart. Say it playfully, with a smile of someone who is one without lagging. I put lagging, but I meant lacking. I just noticed the typo. So these deities, these dark goddesses, they don't lend their power to those really who plead or beg. They give it to those who know the lipstick is her kiss. It is her talisman, her mark. And now it's yours. So you got to use it wisely and you got to let the people burn, right? So this is about power. It's not about begging and pleading. I know there's deity out there that are like that. The dark goddesses aren't like that. All right, so let's get into this one. All right, to magnetize the body and spirit before a ritual or seduction. This is a fun one because this ritual actually ties into a couple of months back. I did an EDU on Terpsy, the Muse, and I talked about fitness magic and using the body to, cast spells, the body as an altar. And this one is right up that alley, and I really, really enjoy it. So let's start with our vocalization. You who dance between stars and stir the soul awake, come into my hips and into my hair, come into the scent on my skin and the music that moves through me. Make me radiant. Make me wild. Let me be the drumbeat and the spell. Let me be the one who turns heads and opens hearts without a word. Come with your beauty, bracelets shaking, and your skirts swirling. Dance through me, dance as me. Now, this is not a spell of candles and incantations, really. It is a spell cast through the body. It's a rite of movement, of rhythm, of skin that's been warmed by magic. It begins before the music starts, right? Before the first step, it begins in preparation. The perfume or oil chosen is not simply to scent the skin, it is to awaken it. It must be something that makes you feel like luxurious, sensual, sovereign. So I would use jasmine, rose, amber, maybe add a touch of musk. Something that reminds you of how it feels to be desired and dangerous at the same time, right? Now you're going to anoint your wrists, your neck, your ankles, and the tops of your feet because these are the places where the body pulses energetically, where the skin breathes, right? You're going to let that scent move through you like smoke curling from a flame. Let your breath deepen. Now, you are not yet dancing, but already you're starting to shift, right? You're going to put bracelets on your wrists, not one or two, but many. Let them jingle. You want them to chime. They are your deity's voice. They're her laughter. They are the sound of her presence. They will help turn your gestures into music. So you're going to prepare the space with intention. I think a single red candle burning, a few rose petals scattered across the floor, low lighting, soft shadows, enough room obviously to sway and spiral without bumping into anything. There is no choreography here. It's a lot like trance dancing. There's no structure. You know, this is not a performance. This is the soul speaking in the only language it had before words existed. So, stand barefoot, close your eyes, feel your spine soften. You're going to let your hips begin to sway. You're going to breathe. You're going to let the perfume rise from your skin, kind of like a mist. You're going to let that candle flicker in time with your breath. You can put on music if you want, but let it be something that kind of opens you rather than commands you. Something with like a nice pulse, with passion, with space between the beats. I personally like Tangerine Dream and Enigma. I think both of them are great for this type of ritual. So check those out. All right, I gotta move myself, you guys. Oh my goodness. This box. Oh, see, look, I did it again. I feel bad because like I keep kind of screwing up. All right, here we go. All right. So, and then you're going to dance. You're going to move as if that deity were standing right behind you, kind of whispering spells into your hair. You're going to move as if your body were the altar and the offering because they are. Your arms can trace sigils. Your feet can mark sacred patterns or sigils on the floor. Your hips can draw circles of seduction and severity, I guess. I can't talk tonight, you guys. It is late. I think it's way past midnight, but I wanted to get this done for you tonight. I apologize. Um, where was I? So you're not just moving, you're conjuring, right? With every sway, you're calling her, your deity, your patron dark goddess. With every twirl, you are saying yes to yourself, right? So this is not about skill, it is about surrender. You're going to let yourself laugh, you're going to let yourself sigh, you're going to let your body remember that it's powerful, right? That it's beautiful, that it's holy, and if tears come, let them. If you start getting aroused, if arousal starts stirring, let it, welcome it. If you feel the presence of someone just beyond your vision, trust it. She's probably there, right? Now, when you feel full, when your skin starts to hum, your chest is glowing, you can come to stillness, right? Press your hands to your heart, whisper thanks, bow your head, and blow out the candle. So at this point, you are now magnetized. So you are charged fully. So whether you go into ritual, you go into an act of seduction, or if you're going into sleep, it doesn't really matter. You go shimmering with power. You walk with that deity now in your breath and in your bones. So this spell can be done before a date, It can be done before going into work or doing some sort of work project, or before a moment where you just really need to be seen and felt. It tunes the body to her frequency, your patron dark goddess. It makes you impossible to ignore, not because you shout, but because you shine. Big difference, right? So movement is her medium, dance is her devotion, and in this spell, you become both the dancer and the flame. So another very beautiful ritual. We got a few more here, you guys. All right, I love spiritual baths. I knew this one was in here. I couldn't remember where I put it, but I knew I put it in here somewhere. All right. So this is a bath for clarity, beauty, and spiritual connection. So we're going to start with our vocalization. You who move like water and shine like glass under moonlight. You who wear stars as earrings and speak truth wrapped in sweetness. Come down to this water, come with your songs in your sight, wash away what clouds my mind, open the gates of beauty, clarity, and connection. Let this water be your mirror. Let this bath be your breath. Beautiful. All right, so this is a spell of sacred immersion, right? Not merely for cleansing, but for transformation. So when a witch enters a bath like this, she becomes the altar quite literally. Her body is the spell, her skin is the sigil, her breath is the invocation. So this ritual is for those seeking a deeper link to the spirit world, to their own intuitive voice, and to the enchantment of being fully luminously present. So it's not a luxury, it's a right. Everybody talks about baths being a luxury. It's a right. We have a right. Anyway, begin by preparing your space with love and softness. So this should not be rushed. If you can do it at night, preferably on a Friday or a full moon, that would be ideal. You're going to light either 1 or 3 candles. Use soft colors. Those are best. So red is great for connection. White is good for clarity. Pink is good for grace. You're going to let some incense coils kind of like burn up into the air. I would use sandalwood, rose, or benzoin. Those are all really good for this particular spiritual bath or ritual. I don't want to call it a spiritual bath. It is a ritual. So I would put on music if it stirs your soul, or you can let silence kind of carry the sound of your heartbeat. Either way, make the space yours. You're going to fill the bath with warm water. As it rises, you're going to add crushed hibiscus petals to tint it red. Hibiscus it's a flower associated with many of the dark goddesses, honestly. So it stirs the senses, it opens the heart, it infuses the water with very sensual brightness, right? So next, you're going to drop in some rose oil for love and gentleness, jasmine for mystery and spirit, and a touch of honey or sugar if you like your sweetness to kind of ripple through your pores, right? You could stir the water with your hands, kind of moving in circles, whispering your patron dark goddess's name. You can even do sigils or symbols, activation ones if you'd like. Now, you're going to place crystals into the bath. Now, they need to be safe for water. Not all crystals are, okay? So I recommend clear quartz, moonstone, and amethyst. Those are all beautiful companions for this type of work or this type of ritual. Quartz is going to sharpen and amplify. Moonstone tends to open intuition and aligns with feminine energy. Amethyst clears the crown and connects to the divine. All right, so these stones kind of become your allies, rebalancing your inner vision. So now when the bath is ready, you're going to step in slowly. Don't plunge. Okay. You're going to enter as though stepping into a very sacred pool in a temple at dawn. Okay. Have that imagery in your mind. You're going to let the warmth embrace you. You're going to let that color kind of wrap you. You're going to let the scent lift your spirit, sort of like a veil in the breeze. You're going to lie back. You're going to breathe deeply. Close your eyes. This is your moment. Call to your deity gently. You can speak out loud or silently, but you're going to want to say the following text or something very similar to it. Walk with me in this water, dance through the ripples, show me what I need to know. Let beauty return to my face. Let truth return to my voice. Let me see with the eyes of spirit. Now, you're going to stay in the water for as long as you wish. However, 21 minutes seems to be a number that many of the dark goddesses favor. So you may want to look at the number associations with your particular patron deity. But you're not bound to time. You know, you can let visions come, let thoughts flow. Don't force anything. You know, this bath ritual works through presence, not pressure. Okay, so you may cry. Maybe you'll laugh. You may, start remembering dreams long forgotten. You know, all of this is a spell in motion, right? So when you're ready to rise, pour a cup of the bath water over your head so you let it bless your crown, and then you're going to step out and wrap yourself in very soft cloth. Don't speak right away. You want to let the silence kind of finish off with the water there as it's draining. You're going to dry yourself slowly, kind of like tending to a sacred relic, because you are. Anoint your wrists and your neck with perfume if you wish. You might want to hold one of the bath crystals in your hand, or you could actually wear it that day as a talisman, which is ideal. So, if possible, I would also save a cup of the water to offer to the earth, maybe at a base of a tree, into a stream, at your crossroads that you're using, and you can speak to her again at that time. Vocalization. Thank you for the sight, for the clarity, and for reminding me who I am. So, this ritual can be repeated whenever you're feeling like disconnected, confused, clouded. It can also be done right before doing any kind of divination or spirit work, because it's not a simple bath, right? It is a return to yourself as sacred, right? It's a return to your body as temple, a return to your senses as tools of sorcery, right? It does not demand silence, but most deity will honor silence. In this particular bath, you are still enough to really hear that deity. The flicker of her earrings, the hush of her skirt, right? The answer you did not know you were waiting for. This is how she moves through scent, through shimmer, through water that remembers what you are meant to become. Again, very sacred, the verbiage with these. All right. This one is a great one because not only does it have a root in sacred sexuality practice with the dark goddesses, but this is something I just did a EDU this month in our dream tending group on lucid dreaming. Kind of the ins and outs, but specifically how to divinate in a lucid dream and how to cast spells in a lucid dream. So I kind of tie this into sacred sexuality, but also dream work. So it works really well, this ritual, for both avenues. All right. So this is for dream walking and spirit travel. So we're going to start with our vocalization. Mistress of scent and shadow, you who slip through dreams and candlelight, you who wear the stars as jewels and speak in the voice of incense, come now through the hush of night, walk the line between sleeping and waking, open the doors between this world and the next. Let your breath be the wind that carries me through. Let my spirit drift where it must go, safe under your gaze. Guide me through the perfume of other realms. Keep me whole, keep me wise, keep me wrapped in your veil. Again, sacred words, you guys. All right, so this ritual is a passage, right? It's a dream boat cast onto midnight waters. It is for those who seek to wander beyond their skin, to walk through the veil and return with something more than a dream. It is the rite of the dream, which the night walker, which will be you, the one who whispers their way into secrets that are not meant for waking hours. So, begin by choosing a moonlit night. Now, the moon is very important sometimes in dream work, especially for dream walking. So, do a full moon if you're seeking power. Do a waning moon if you wish to release something. Waxing moons are great if you're trying to draw something towards you. And new moons are great if your aim is transformation from within. So make sure the night feels right. It needs to feel right for you, because this is not a spell to be done in haste or under like what we call dull skies, right? So you're also going to need incense. I would choose one that speaks to your soul, right? Jasmine for presence, myrrh for depth, benzoin for clarity. You can blend if you like, you can blend these, but you want to keep it rich and soft. This is not the sharp smoke of exorcism here, you guys. It's more of a curling scent of dreams. So I hope that makes sense. Prepare the space in a dim room or even outside. If you have a nice private yard, with a hammock or something, this is great. But where the moonlight, you want the moonlight to find you, right? You're going to place a mirror on the floor or a table. You're going to have a black scarf or cloth beneath it. On either side of the mirror, set 2 candles. I would use either blue, white, or violet. Their flame should be small and steady. You don't want these to be torches, okay? You want them to be more like whispers of fire. So you're going to sit before the mirror. You're going to breathe deeply. You're going to let each breath take you closer to stillness. You're going to light the incense. You're going to let your hands run through the smoke. You're going to let it caress your face, your shoulders, the back of your neck. You're going to speak your patron goddess's name 3 times slowly. And now you're going to gaze into that mirror, not to see your reflection, but to lose it. Okay, you're going to let your eyes soften. You're going to let the smoke blur the edges. You're going to let her come through. And then quietly, we're going into stating the next part of our incantation. Whew. This is a long one tonight, you guys. I'm sorry. Veil me in your perfume. Walk with me through the veil. Where I go, keep me hidden. What I seek, help me see. What I touch, let it return with me. Now, close your eyes. You're going to let your body stay where it is. You're going to let your spirit begin to drift, right? You might want to lie down if you wish. You can remain seated. You may start to feel sort of like a pulling or a lifting, kind of like a sensation maybe of floating. Now, you may see images behind your eyelids, or you may feel her perfume kind of wrap around your thoughts, right? Trust it and move with it, okay? Stay in that space as long as you are guided to. Do not force anything, right? This is her realm. You're a guest. So when it's time to return, you're going to breathe deeply. You're going to begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. You're going to thank her out loud and say, vocalization piece. For what I was shown, for where I was taken, for what I will now hold in silence, I thank you. Then you're going to extinguish the candles with breath, not with fingers. You're going to let the incense burn out on its own. You're going to sleep if you can. So now the dreams that come after this ritual are often even more powerful than those during it. So keep a notebook or one of those digital recorders bedside. You want to write without interpretation. You're just going to write everything without interpreting it. Let the meaning kind of rise up in you in the days to come. Okay, give it time to seed itself. So, this is not a spell for answers shouted from the sky. It's a very soft summoning of the truth. It is a kiss from the spirit world. It is a perfume in your soul that others will notice, even if they don't know why. So, you have danced with the veil and returned. Let the scent of that remain. Let the mystery live in your eyes. Again, powerful stuff. I think we have one more. Yeah, this is our last one before closing. So this is number 9 for this month. That'll complete this month's grouping. So I like this one because this is a ritual to uncover hidden truths in a relationship or situation. So we start with our vocalization. Whew. You who know what lies behind perfume and painted smiles, I call to you now. You who read what is never spoken, you who see what is covered by silk, smoke, and sighs, come with your dark eyes gleaming, with your scent of night, flowers, and velvet secrets. Sit beside me as I search the unseen. Guide my hand and sharpen my sight. Reveal to me the truth, cloaked in charm, the motive behind the gesture, the heart behind the mask. Let your whisper be clear in my ear and your shadow stretch long behind my steps. Let no lie pass undetected. Powerful stuff. Okay, so this is a spell of revelation, not through confrontation, but through cunning. You do not demand answers. You unveil them slowly and surely through the workings of scent and shadow. So the witch who performs this rite really needs to be prepared for honesty, okay? Because What is shown cannot be unseen, and what is known needs to be acted upon. But you're going to have deity at your side. So that truth is going to lose its sting a little bit and it becomes more power in your palm. So begin this at night when the house is still, when the moon has risen, even if only behind clouds, right? So in a quiet room, dress your space for your deity that you're working with. Light a deep red or purple candle, something rich and muted rather than bright. Let the scent in the room be associated again with your deity. And also, I like using for all the dark goddesses a combination of maybe jasmine, lavender, maybe a trace of clove or anise. You could use perfume or incense as long as the fragrance is subtle and winding, not overwhelming. All right, I'm starting to lose my voice, you guys. I'm not used to talking this much. All right, you're going to place a mirror in front of you. A small hand mirror is fine. It should be one only used for magical purposes, though. You're going to clean it first with a cloth dipped in rose water and a little bit of salt, removing any residue or mundane energy, right? You're going to set it in a way that it reflects your face by candlelight. The shadow should play around with your features. You should not be able to see yourself clearly, though. That's kind of the point. You're stepping into the realm of intuition, not facts. You're going to take your chosen perfume, hold it in both hands, speak to it, tell it what you wish to know, say the name of the person or the situation, kind of whispering to the bottle as if it were the ears of a lover, right? Ask the perfume to reveal the truth. So, things you could say, this is, again is a vocalization piece. Perfume of the night, carrier of secrets, walk with her through drums and desire. Carry my question into the folds of velvet and lace. Unveil what is hidden. Show me what I must see. So you're going to anoint the mirror with a drop of the perfume. You're going to let it mark the glass, kind of like a kiss. And then you're going to touch the perfume to your own pulse points. So behind the ears, on the wrist, over the heart. You are going to vocalize while you're doing that. Make me the shadow that knows the scent, that stirs honesty, the silence that reveals. Let no masks survive my gaze. Now, sit with the mirror. You're going to gaze into it through the candlelight and smoke. Do not try to force visions or answers. You want to let the impressions come. They may arrive as a sentence in your mind, a flicker of memory, kind of a sudden knowing. You are not interrogating here, you are listening. So afterwards, I want you to record everything, even the things that seem vague or strange. And over the coming days, patterns are going to start to emerge. You may even dream of that person or that situation, or you may notice a slip of the tongue or a sudden truth revealed in conversation. So that's the spell unfolding. That is deity basically whispering in your ear. So the mirror should be wrapped in black cloth when not in use. Keep the perfume sacred. Use it only for this kind of work. So make your own little, uncovering hidden truths and relationships serum and set it aside. And when the truth has come, whether it's bitter or sweet, you want to light a single candle and thank your deity, right? Leave her a glass of red wine or a single violet at your door as an offering of thanks. So this is not a spell for revenge or punishment, you guys. It's a spell for clarity, for knowing. And once you know, you have to act as a queen would, right? Act with calm, certainty, with elegance, and with full control of your fate, right? Because that's what sets us apart. Whew, I think that was the last one. It sure was. I had some fun images I had found online that I wasn't able to work into the slides because they were so robust with the ritual and right wording. But these were some fun images. And once again, I just want to thank you guys for your continued support of our Patreon. It's, the support you guys show us is what enables us to do these educational videos every month. Here on the left is the QR code for our main website. And here on the right is the QR code for our Patreon. Check us out if you haven't already. And let me stop sharing, if it'll let me. Hang on. Stop share. There it is. All right, you guys, it is late. And so I am going to get this uploaded and y'all stay magical.